Hello and welcome to the 15-minute show, part of the Arsenal Therapy podcast. As always, we'll be broadcasting twice a week, so please make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications. And if you like this video, please hit the like button. It really helps us grow the channel. So today I am joined by Farhan, also known as Gunner since 96. And as you guys know, Farhan is the founder and brains behind the Arsenal Therapy pod. And I'm your host, Adam Keys, as always. So Farhan, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I know it was a bit of a lastminute.com drop in, but no, very good to be here. Glad to be talking all things Arsenal, despite not much news, I guess, or, not really, because the transfer window's closed now. Before, when we had these shows, there was so much to talk about, but now I guess it makes it more difficult for you to be rummaging around looking for the latest updates and news.
Yeah, well, I've still got some quick fire questions up my sleeve for you, so let's get started with them. So are you ready to go?
Let's do it.
So first up, question one. Should Arsenal move on from Thomas Partey after this season?
Yes.
Should Kai Havertz retain his place in Arsenal's starting 11 after the international break?
No.
Is Gabriel Jesus' Brazil call-up a good thing for Arsenal? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so first up, the Thomas Partey one. So this is one that I think is really going to split the fans. During the summer, I got a lot of criticism when I said that I would rather sell Partey than sell Granit Xhaka with the incoming arrival of Declan Rice. Now, that was my issues with Thomas Partey are not on a football level. I think he's superb. We talk about him on the main pod every week. He's got incredible feet, the way he manipulates the ball, the way he understands space and possession. The issues you've got with Thomas Partey are availability, and people will point out he played 33 games last season. Thomas Partey was on the pitch for 33 games last season. He didn't play 33 games. He hobbled through the last 7 or 8, as we saw, which again, we have discussed at length on the pod, where he definitely played quite a few of those games with an injury. There's no doubt about that he was not fully fit at the end of last season. And the difference before that international break compared to after, it was like two different players. And that's a concern that I've got going into this season. I was very happy to keep Thomas after Granit Xhaka did leave. However, that doesn't mean that I don't have my concerns. And I don't know about you, but we obviously spoke about it in our WhatsApp group whenever the kind of news broke on Saturday that he was injured. And I got a barrage of texts from other Arsenal fans that I'm mates with, all saying the same thing about Thomas Partey. It's the reoccurring injuries. It's repeated muscular injuries. And one of my mates pointed out that even if he's kind of fit, we can't rush him back. And that's a big concern. It's similar to what we've got with Zinchenko. There's other players. It's like we hear Ben White played with a grade 3 hamstring, or was it? It was a grade 3 injury, hamstring injury against Newcastle a couple of years ago. That's the kind of player he is. He can play through it. He can manage his body in that sense. Some players can't. Zinchenko and Thomas Partey in particular. So where do you stand on this? Obviously, you said you think that we should move on from him. Where do you see the future of that role at Arsenal? And I guess more kind of pressing, how do you see Arsenal adapting this season without Thomas Partey? Because right now, Arteta seems to be really wanting to do what he can to get him on the pitch.
Yeah, well, I think it's worth noting that there isn't anyone like Thomas Partey at the club. And I think it's really difficult to find someone like Thomas Partey in the world right now. He is very much one of a kind. very unique in the sense that he's brilliant at doing the simple things, but doing it really well, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
his positional play is second to none. There's no one, I haven't seen anyone who's able to, station himself so well throughout the course of the 90 minutes. Rarely ever leaves any gaps. Able to, as you said, manipulate the ball so well. When he comes onto the ball, arrives, the touch is so graceful. It's really difficult to get that skill right. He makes it look so effortless, and I think with Declan Rice, you've got someone who's a little bit different. He is very much a little bit more of an intense player. He's coming hard in the tackle, and he's going to be moving the ball really. He's going to be moving the ball really quickly. Whereas Partey, on the other hand, the challenges are made in a way that doesn't. It's not so reckless. It's not so hard, but it's effective. He does enough. He uses enough aggression to win the ball back, and then he doesn't necessarily need to play it forward. It's those little intricate passes. Again, he's not super offensive. Doesn't need to be either. So I struggle when I think of potential replacements. I struggle to see where we get another Thomas Partey in, because I think it's crucial that Arsenal do bring a Thomas Partey in. Right now, the squad is very much 100 miles an hour. There is a lot of the right word to describe it would be intensity. There's a lot of intensity in that team. You need a bit of balance, and Partey offers that bit of reassurance, that calmness, that level head, I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happens going forward next season. They certainly need to move away from him because he's 30 years old now. Next June he turns 31. He needs to have a good season this season so that we're able to move him on for a substantial fee. Again, whether Saudi come back in for him or not, we're yet to see. But certainly if he's, and I think he's more likely than not to suffer another injury somewhere down the line. But my thing would be to just squeeze as much out of him as possible this season and try and mold someone into him. Kai Havertz is not going to be that person, unfortunately, and there's no one else in the squad right now who fits Partey's role. Edu needs to be keeping an eye out right now around the world.
You see, that's interesting for me because I think Declan Rice is the replacement. He's the next step in that role. For me, I would like to see, this is where I think Rice and Partey fit together in midfield, and why Rice is being asked to play the left and the 8, as he said on Sunday after the game. It's Arsenal need a controller on the left 8 position, that left-hand side, in the way Xhaka could control the game a bit. He did a lot of his game developed into an off-the-ball role, positional, very much advancing up the pitch. But when we needed him to play that bit more like get on the ball, control it, simple, slow the game down, he could do those things. And I don't see Havertz being that player. Right now, I don't see Fabio Vieira being that player either. Whereas I think Declan Rice could give you that in the left 8, and that's where Partey can sit at the 6. So I would say Declan Rice will be the player that replaces Partey. The issue is you also need a player in that left 8 that can control, and I think that's why Arsenal were so interested in Ilkay Gundogan this summer, because he can give you that. So he gives you that very much. He's a traditional midfielder who can play advance, get the goals, create, but also if you need to slow the game down and just kill it with a million passes, that's where a player like Gundogan comes in. And I don't think you'll get that from Kai Havertz. Now, I have been very defensive of Kai since we signed him, and I knew that clip from the pod on Sunday was going to appear.
Rightly so. He's an Arsenal player, so you know.
Yeah. So we obviously talked about him at length on the pod on Sunday. Some of the errors he made, some of the good bits he did in the game. But the question I have for you, you've obviously said that he shouldn't retain his spot in the starting 11. Simple question, who comes in after the international break for the Everton game?
I don't even know where he plays. And that's where the main issue is, really, isn't it? Because if we're led to believe that Declan Rice is a left 8, then we're looking for someone who plays either on the right-hand side or a little bit more advanced as a almost false nine with Odegaard. And I
Well,
think that's what Havertz was doing, wasn't he?
well, if you take Declan, very much a core six in that game against United, dominated that midfield role. And then I would have put Havertz was very much on the left against United, Odegaard on the right. And then you've got Nketiah. But obviously, when Jesus comes into the team, he drops, he moves, he does everything that Gabriel Jesus does and literally moves right across that front line. So I guess we'd be looking at a player that's coming into the midfield and giving you that more, I guess, a bit more stability in and control in midfield, because that for me is where Havertz needs to improve the most. I think finishing will come, but the likes of the sloppy pass, they're the things that I want to just see that bit more concentration and application.
Yeah. Okay. We're not left with many options. I think Vieira and Emile Smith-Rowe are the only two candidates, unless I'm forgetting about someone else. Unless you want to be really extreme and put Zinchenko in there and allow Tommy to play as the fullback.
Or there's play Declan Rice there and play Jorginho at 6.
Right. Oh, Jorginho, that's right. So we've forgotten about Jorginho. Yeah, there you could do that as well. So there is a nice range of different combinations that Arteta could go for. I guess it very much depends on the opposition that we play. And this is the beauty about Arsenal and the system that we've developed now. We don't necessarily need to play it. There's no default structure. It depends on what the opposition is, what their attacking strengths are, and how we can nullify them. So I personally, I think it is Vieira's time. I think this is the season where we're seeing the best of him. And I think if you want to really squeeze everything out of him, if you really want to see the best version of Fabio Vieira, the version that we wanted to see last season, he's going to have to play more consistently, more regularly. And if Arteta is he keeps banging that drum about building a competition around the squad. If he believes in it, then we won't see Havertz next game, because he hasn't really proven that he's capable or he's ready, or he's the word I'm looking for is good enough at this moment in time to be holding that place.
Yeah, I think confidence is a major thing, and that's for me is when I watch Kai Havertz, it's not a player that lacks ability, it's a player that looks completely flat on confidence. And I've seen this time and time again over the years, and that's not an easy
Sambi.
fix.
He looks exactly like Sambi Lokonga, right?
Yeah, I mean, he is a significant level above Sambi in terms of ability, but
the attitude.
Yeah. I think it's that that sparkle that players have when they're confident, and it's something I think people see confidence as an easy fix. We see players with top class ability that can never ever regain their kind of that level that they've hit because they can't regain their confidence, and that's really, really difficult. So I think it will take time for Havertz, and I really hope we can bring it out of him. The ability's there, but it's a wait and see. And I agree with you about Fabio Vieira. I also think I've heard some people say you can't take Havertz out because of the hit it will do to his confidence. I would flip that on its head and say Fabio Vieira had pelters from the Arsenal team last season. After the Southampton game, he was torn apart on social media, on podcasts, and in the terraces, everywhere. And he worked hard, got his head down, and he really found his feet this year. What does it say to him if he comes on 2 games in a row, makes such a big impact, and then doesn't get in the team again? So confidence works 2 ways, in the sense that you want to protect one player, but that shouldn't be at the detriment of another player. And I think you're right. This is Fabio Vieira's time. I think he's earned it. And it's also important to remember we're playing Everton next. They are going to play the deepest of deep blocks, and they're going to hoof that ball as long as possible from the get-go. So having a player like Vieira who can unpick a lock, who can speed up the game. The thing that we are starting to see is he isn't always going as direct. I still don't see him as being the controller, but I think he's someone that is starting to learn that side of the game. And that could be something that Arteta's worked on over the last year or so. But the transfer window isn't closed everywhere. And we've still got a couple of players that we still haven't got rid of, Cedric and Pepe. So it seems that Arsenal are holding out for a fee for Nicolas Pepe from Saudi, and it seems the Besiktas rumours of a medical yesterday are completely untrue. Pepe doesn't want to move to Turkey, and it seems Besiktas are pretty much they've given up on that deal. So the main stories are that he's going to Saudi, and Arsenal are now only going to take a 70 million hit on that transfer and not a 72 million. So we are holding out for a 2 million fee. Give me your thoughts on this, and is it someone that it's just best for the club now that even if he goes for 2 million, we cut ties and we move on?
I don't seem to ever understand or wrap my head around how Arsenal do their business with outgoings. It's really bizarre for me. Like, I try and look at every angle. I try and see how the club would approach it. Like 4 mil for Rob Holding was disgraceful, in my opinion.
It was one.
1 million. Okay.
1 plus 2.75 in add-ons, as
Wow.
confirmed by David Ornstein.
It's crazy.
So, yeah.
I mean, it's insulting, isn't it? 1 mil.
It
What's
is.
the point? What is the
But
point?
here,
What is that
we
going to do?
sold Leno for 2 million. German international.
Right.
He's one of Fulham's best players now. It's as a mid-table keeper, Bernd Leno is arguably the best in the league, and we sold him for £2 million.
Well, we dropped 2 points because he was so good in goal.
Yeah, and like I know it's got the potential to rise to 8, and I think we might have got another 3 this summer. But even 8 million for a German international goalkeeper is insane. And like you, I try to wrap my head around it, rationalize these things, but these sales impact incomings, and people keep saying, "Why do you care what Arsenal get for players?" And it's like, because we are not Chelsea, we're not Man City, we can't just go out and buy. We spent 220 million this summer. You want that extra sign and you want to complain on deadline day? Well, then don't complain that Arsenal are only getting 1 million for the likes of Rob Holding or 10 million for Matt Turner or whatever it is. It's these actions impact other actions. And I think with Pepe, I genuinely, we've discussed this all summer. I still can't wrap my head around the complete lack of interest in him.
And just to mention as well, getting rid of these players on such low fees has a detrimental impact on incomings as well, because when we go to negotiate with other teams, they'll be looking to take the absolute piss out of us. We've already got our pants halfway down by getting rid of, releasing players. We're not even releasing them for free. We'd be able to regain some humility if we just were to cut ties, but rather instead, we want to take the piss out of ourselves by getting rid of them for ridiculously low fees. I'm just going to have a look at how old Pepe is. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's 28 years old. So he's in it. I mean, if you look at a footballer's kind of life cycle, he's in his prime. Yeah. So why not try and squeeze a little bit more out of him? Why not? Why did we not include him in the summer pre-season? I find it hard to believe that there isn't a single Premier League club who wouldn't want someone like Pepe for 10, 15 mil. I mean, City offloaded to Chelsea. What's his name? I don't even know his name because he's so young.
Palmer.
Cole Palmer, right? Barely played any senior football for City. Made an appearance during pre-season, scored in the Community Shield and the Super Cup, and was managed to get sold for 40 mil. And there are a number of players who
I'll give you an interesting stat about Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer played 358 minutes for City in the Premier League in his entire time there. He's won everything, but he's been basically a squad player with very, very few minutes. To put that into context in how few minutes that is, Saka played 328 minutes at the World Cup alone. So,
wow.
Saka and Cole Palmer, there's about 6 months age gap between them. And so during a 4 or 5 game period, Saka played nearly as many minutes as he's played in his entire Premier League career, yet he's gone for £45 million. It shows how crazy the market is. It does show how bad we are at selling. And what I do hope is, because Cedric is apparently on close to 100k a week, which is why he is more than happy with his feet up, enjoying the London life. There are reports of a move to Olympiacos because their window is open for another 6 days. There's talks of a move to Portugal where their window is still open. But I could see him still being here in January. He's not going to want to leave. And to be fair to Arsenal, we're not the only club having this issue. Man United have had multiple players this summer that have just refused to move because big wages, like they're at a big club, nice lifestyle, and they've got multiple years left on their contracts. Chelsea's had it with Cucurella. I'm really glad Chelsea had it because all those 8-year contracts are going to come back and bite them.
Yeah.
Just imagine we give Nicolas Pepe an 8-year contract. When he signed, and we had that sheer kind of optimism around the club because we thought we were signing a £72 million player. In reality, we probably signed a £30 million player at the time for a massively inflated fee. But if we were told we were having him for 8 years, we would have been buzzing because we're like, we've got this superstar. Actually, 3 years later, he's gone on loan, and we're more than happy to get rid of him. So this is where I think I'm hoping next summer, if we can get rid of Pepe now, if we can get rid, I think Cedric's out of contract next summer if he doesn't go. So we are finally starting to see the end of this. And it's important to remember as well, although Arteta and Edu did sign Cedric, he was a January loan signing and then COVID kicked in. So it was behind closed doors. No clubs had any money. And we prioritized signing Thomas Partey and Gabriel that summer. So Willian and Cedric were made permanent on free transfers, which the club rolled the dice on those two. To be honest, I don't think Cedric was the worst signing. He was someone who has done a job on multiple occasions whilst we were a team 8th and then competing for top 4. The team has just grown far beyond his capabilities, and that's the reality of it. But we shouldn't have given him a 4-year deal. That was the issue. But if we signed Cedric on a 2-year deal, I think it would have been a good signing. But we were in this position where we now can't get rid of him.
Yeah. But luckily, we've only got 2 players to shift out. I mean, you think of last season, how many players were on the books constantly being sent out on loan, the wage as well. So now, it's a good thing. We're very much around the corner from, I guess, next summer will be another window where we get another, rather than just signing a Rice, we're getting 2, maybe 3 different type of Rices.
Or an Evan Ferguson.
So yeah. He's brilliant, yeah.
But we will leave that at this point because I think we've gone over all the key stories of today. We will be back again on Thursday. We'll be running through some of the key stories, including a look at the under-21s, 18s, and some of our loan players that have been out. And then we will be back again next Tuesday. So please hit that like and subscribe button. We really appreciate everyone that's watched up to this point. And Farhan, thanks for joining us today. It's been great to have you.
Thank you, Adam. Thanks for having me.
So yeah, and you can find us on the main pod on all the major streaming platforms. So please go and check that out. It's the Arsenal Therapy Pod. So thank you for joining and have a great day, everyone.